If you wanted a bullet journal flip through with a bunch of different ideas, then this video is certainly that. Today we're having a flip through of my 2022 R&D Bujo. An R&D Bujo is the shorthand for Research and Development Bullet Journal, and it's effectively a place that I can do things like trialing different layouts, or in particular, making layouts for idea videos. So rather than have all of those ideas in my regular bullet journal, where I'm trying to do my weekly, daily, monthly planning, I instead put it in here. This journal is from Archer and Olive. They sent this one to me, which was very kind of them, and it does have my name printed on the front. The thing is that this isn't really my color, and I thought that silver and this green was an interesting combo. I probably would have gone with gold, personally, but like, they sent it to me for free, so I'm not complaining. But I did still want to use it for something that was valuable, so I decided to use it as an R&D Bujo. Jumping into it though, you can see we have my nameplate page. That's not really an idea. And I also like to include a kind of space to swatch out different pins, color combination kind of things, and also write a note of when I started and when I finished the R&D Bujo. This is actually the first R&D Bujo that I have filled up this quickly. Like, it only lasted from pretty much the start of August to mid-November. But flipping into it, our first set of ideas are all those related to teaching related spreads. So we had a teaching related future log, which you could break down by terms and highlight the holidays and stuff like that on the mini calendars, which was kind of cute. We then had a teaching related year at a glance, which is similar, but you don't actually write down what's going on each of those days. I did talk about the idea of using a color code to represent certain things though. So you could represent when your staff only days were, or your sick days, something like that. Related idea was a sick leave log. So you could write down how many days you've used or how many you have left and tick them off or write down when they were, that kind of stuff. And we also have a leave log with date, reason, and whether you had logged it with the school. All of these pages were decorated using washi tape from the washi tape shop. I like to use the washi tape to kind of just make all of the pages tie together, look quite nice without a lot of effort on my part, because often in these idea videos, I'm giving quite a few pages. We had a term timelines page and a term at a glance, which I loved this. I used this a lot when I was still teaching, so that was a very valuable idea, from my point of view. We had the obligatory timetable, because you can't have a teaching related ideas video without a timetable. And we also had a bell schedule, because I know that that's important for some people, because their bell schedules might change depending on the day, structure of their timetable, that kind of stuff. We had a teacher dashboard idea, where you have different boxes that you can stick sticky notes in to write down specific stuff. And then you can change those sticky notes out on a weekly, daily, whenever basis. This is also an idea that you could use for other areas of life, not just teaching, might also work in other lines of work. But flipping over, we had a weekly schedule that had a time structured kind of layout. So it had the school day structure on the side with like the periods and then thing for notes and tasks for the week. And we had a different weekly schedule structure, which was class structured. So for these classes, the first time you see them in the week, you're going to do this. The second time you see them, you're going to do that, so on and so forth. For our next page, we had a term planner / lesson scheduler. This is another one that I used to use a lot when I was still teaching. So effectively, each column is a week of the school term, each big row is a day, and then each of the smaller individual rows is a period. So for instance, it's like Monday of week 4, Monday of week 5, of week 6, periods 1 through 6 for each of those. The next idea was having an extension work ideas section. So for these activities, what kind of extension task could you set? We also had differentiation plans as an idea to go with that. So activities that you want to do on a surface, deep, and transfer level, and then maybe students that you want to put in those areas of work for specific tasks. Flipping over though, we have the lesson ideas / activity ideas space. So maybe this is the activity idea or like type of activity, and these are the lessons you might want to use it in. We have a lesson routine space, so kind of sectioning off different parts of your lesson to make it so it has a kind of overall structure every time, so your students kind of know what to expect. You can also put lesson plans in your bullet journal. I do not miss lesson planning. One that I really like is that of the markbook. I always did my markbooks digitally, but I know that some people like to have them on paper. And you can make really good use of Dutch doors so that you could just write the students' names once and then have multiple pages of things that you're keeping track of. And like it says here, it could be something like an absence log, work completion, homework, so on and so forth. On to the next one. This was a homework/assignment log, and I set this one up with the Alistair method. So each of these columns represents something, and I actually wrote out what they were so that people kind of knew what I was getting at. You'd write down what the pieces of work were here and then tick them off as things had happened. So once you'd planned it, you could tick off in this first column. Once you'd actually written that piece of work, you know, the assessment or the homework task or whatever it was, you could tick that one off, and so on. One that's not just good for teaching, but also probably a lot of different workspaces is that of a project tracker. So having a bunch of the actions that you need to do in order to work on this project, and then tick them off as you go, and you can have a little progress bar or something, just as a nice visual to see how you're tracking with that project. Depending on your school commitments, you might want to have an extra or co-curricular commitments page. So this one was kind of set up for chess club. So this is when it was. You might want to take another note down about that or something. Have the members' names and whether they're attending. Schedule for what you're doing each week. Really depends on what type of extracurricular you are committed to. We are moving fairly quickly through these because obviously not everybody is a teacher, and I do have a complete separate video where I go into a bit more detail. But on this page here we had the course/topic reflections, the meeting schedules and agendas or minutes. We had the inquiry and appraisal notes, another thing that I don't necessarily miss, and a home contact log. Of course, you don't have to use this as a home contact log. It could be the idea of just a contact log in general. Like, when was the last time you called your brother-in-law? I don't know. Whoever you actually care about contacting. So a lot of these ideas are very much transferable to other areas of life. So rather than a student/colleague birthday calendar, it can just be a birthday calendar in general. Could be an anniversary log or something like that. Instead of a marking Kanban board, it might be a Kanban board for some other kind of repeated thing that you do. Like marking is very much a repeated task in teaching. For me now, video making is a repeated task. So you could use something like this for a repeated task in your line of work or life in general. We had the class budget or spending log. We had a classroom layout idea, and I also noted including diagrams and measurements because those can be very helpful if you're trying to buy something to put in your classroom. Class size reference, which I honestly should have put in my journal when I was teaching because the number of times I'd go to print something and I'd have to like re-look up my class numbers. Would have just been easier to have a reference in my bullet journal. Something like a seating chart could be useful, and I also noted that you could use reusable sticky notes and move kids around and stuff, which would make it a little easier. Class contract or rules. Of course, I just printed this one off because I just needed an example for the video. These are not actually the rules. I mean, two of these are like the same. Anyways, yep, you can tell that I didn't look at it very carefully before I printed it off. Topic checklists. I loved these. It's just, you know, when you're trying to work on all of the different parts of building a topic and you have like repeated actions for all of your different lessons, something like this, very useful. And I still use things like this for my video creation too. We have the 5, 10, and 15-minute teacher tasks idea, which can be applied to anything, like for instance 5, 10, or 15-minute cleaning tasks, or 5, 10, 15-minute ideas for self-care, so on and so forth. Down the bottom we had roll call questions, which you could tick off depending on which classes you'd use them with. Flipping over, you can see that this was a very big video in the sense of like a lot of ideas because I had a lot of ideas to share. I think in this video there was like 57 ideas, and that's why I don't like to put these pages in my everyday bullet journal, because then my everyday bullet journal would last like a month and that wouldn't be the business. On the spread though, we had special assessment conditions, student allergy notes, student preferred names, student groups, so either groups that are working on a project or maybe groups that do or don't work well together, and a countdown to XYZ. For me that would typically be a countdown till the end of the term or year. Professional development ideas, so it's like what skills do you want to build and then what PD ideas do you have for that. We then also have the professional development log, because it can be useful to keep track of those for things like your appraisals. Professional development notes, because, you know, sometimes we want to refer back to the stuff that we were learning in each of those pieces of PD. Professional goal planning, which of course you could just translate to regular goal planning too. The idea of emergency contacts or procedures, so that you have a handy reference of that you can look back at when you need to. hopefully not very often, hopefully not too many emergencies. Behavior management protocols, which of course depend on your school and what they have in place. Teaching standard criteria, which again, don't really miss that. Bloom's taxonomy, because I know that that's one that people do like to put in their journals. I've seen those quite a bit on the internet in different structures. A command term glossary, which for the MYP was certainly necessary. Assessment specifications, that kind of stuff, just a whole bunch of ideas. Obviously, teaching related, like I've said, so isn't necessarily going to be applicable to everybody, but still, I enjoyed setting up all of these pages though. Helpful websites, online accounts and passwords with a little tip in so that you could keep them safe from prying eyes. Before term X checklist, so like before term 2, before term 3. Funny things my students said, and I should have taken more of those down because they're just good memories. Reasons for why you teach, because sometimes you need the reminder. Words of appreciation log, school year bingo, which I thought was a lot of fun. And then where you can get teacher discounts, which I'd always forget where I could get them, so it would be good to keep that. With a change of color palette and decoration style, of course, comes a new video. So this one was related to mental health and wellness ideas. That is, ideas for your bullet journal. This was another one that had a lot of different ideas, so I actually ended up splitting this one into 2 separate videos with 26 ideas each. So we had an aspect of mental health reference, we had the feel wheel, or wheel of emotions, we had quotes to promote mental wellness as an idea, which of course you don't have to tuck it into the corner of a page, it could be like a full page quote or even a full spread. But because these were just ideas for your journal, and thus kind of ideas for layouts, I didn't feel the need to take up an entire page just to put in a quote to tell you that you could do a quote page, if that kind of makes sense. We have the idea of zones of control, so things you can and can't control, and listing those out just to kind of make yourself feel better about what you can and can't do in any given situation. We have a what's wrong space, so identifying the different things that could be causing you distress, discomfort, and then the kind of things you can do to address those. We have mood boosters, you can see those time brackets coming back, so the 1, 5, 10, and 15 minute tasks. You could also have a reference for an anxiety attack plan. So if you're having an anxiety attack, how can you make coming back from that happen as fast as possible, effectively? Flipping over, more ideas. So recipe for a good day, which I just think is a cute idea. So things that you can do on a regular day to ensure that you are setting yourself up for a good day, and then things you can do on a kind of deluxe or special version of that day. We have a list of ways to detach, which sometimes you just have to do for your mental wellness. You have to detach from certain situations if they're causing you distress, discomfort, that kind of thing. Very much the idea of having to put your own oxygen mask on before trying to assist others. We have de-stressing ideas, so what could you do now, or at least for an immediate de-stress, versus what could you do to cause de-stressing later. So something you can effectively do for your long-term self. Things like routine plans, so they could be on a weekly, daily, monthly basis. This one's obviously weekly, not that it has any plans in, because it is just an idea. And then the next one was the idea of mindfulness ideas, or activities that you can do to practice mindfulness. At the bottom here we had the listen, watch, read list for mental wellness, so different resources that you might want to read, or watch, or listen to. You can also do goal planning for your mental health, which I feel like we don't see enough of, so that one would be valuable. We had the idea of mental health challenges, so things that you could do on kind of like a monthly basis, so once a day for a month, to help improve your mental wellness. And then on to the next one, we had a mental health bingo. I just love a good bingo board. I just think it's fun, honestly. You know, it'd be kind of nice to have one that's just related to taking care of yourself. We had the treat yourself idea, and also for other people too, so just little niceties that you can do for yourself or other people. The self-care toolbox idea, which I broke down into different types of self-care, and then the things that you can do to promote wellness in that area. We then also had the mental health first aid kit. So this was effectively the idea of items to support your mental health, rather than kind of, strategies or tactics. I'm not too sure what the right word is. So this is like things you could do versus things you could have, if that kind of makes sense. Flipping over, we had the mental reset checklist, which I think would be good to incorporate into possibly my daily reset list, but something to come back to for later. This is the nice part about this idea of a R&D bujo. I put all these ideas down in here and then I can flip through them and get myself inspired. We have a checklist for better sleep, so strategies to get better sleep. And then we also had a compliment keeper, which is like just this little envelope that has little notes and stuff in it. You know, so when you get words of appreciation and kind words from other people, you can keep them for when you kind of need a little pick-me-up. Another pick-me-up is one that is self-directed, so kind words to yourself. I love me because, that kind of stuff. We have the I am, I can, I have, I will page. So it's just a little opportunity for self-reflection. And then we have the happiest versus unhappiest me. So all of the things that make you happy or that you've done and they just like make you feel good. And then all of the things that kind of make you feel crappy. So that we can tend towards the happiest us rather than the unhappiest us. Try and do things that counteract the unhappiest us. This was the last idea for the first video, and then this was the first idea for the next video, but they are very much related. So this was cognitive distortions. I talk more about it in the video that was actually related to these layouts, but this one is something that I think is pretty cool, and something that I didn't really think a lot about before having made that video. It's kind of nice that in doing the research for the videos, I get to find out this kind of stuff. So we have the first and second thoughts tracker. So it's like, what was your kind of knee-jerk reaction or, you know, initial thought to something happening? Which distortion does this play into? So this one is like, you know, someone commented on my video saying my voice was annoying. I should stop doing voiceovers. And then like number 6. Okay, it's an overgeneralization. Tendency to make broad generalizations based upon a single event and minimal evidence. So then the second thought could be, it's one person's opinion, and what I have to say and explain in my videos is valuable. It's also good to know, like, you don't have to make a page in your journal for this, but actually paying attention to this kind of stuff does have a measured impact. We have a mental health combo tracker. So by combo tracker, I mean a tracker that brings multiple pieces of information together so that you can kind of compare them to find trends, patterns, that kind of stuff. So we had like habits, emotional things, physical things, medication taking, and then like focus things that you were tracking on the side too. On the next page, we had an anxiety tracker or log, so tracking whether you had high, medium, or low anxiety on that day. You could really use any scale you want. We of course had the mood tracker as an idea as well, and in particular I put notes with this one to kind of explain why the mood was the way it was. You can see that this video in particular was very much about trackers and logs, so like anxiety tracker / log, mood tracker, gratitude log, self-congrats / daily congrats log. Flipping on over though, so we also had a sleep tracker, an energy tracker, an improvements tracker, and an impulse tracker. So, like I said, lots of trackers and logs. On this one in particular, I wanted to show you some different styles of trackers you could use. They're all vertical in the sense of like, you know, having the numbers for the month down the side, but they are all a different style. This one here was a before and after self-care log. So how were you feeling before? What activity did you do? How did you feel after? Just so you can kind of track how effective your self-care tasks are. We also have the trigger tracker and logs. So when did something happen? What was it that triggered any kind of thoughts and feelings and emotions? Listing those out and what you did in response. We also had the idea of a self-harm tracker, just to identify patterns and trends based on any kind of categories that you were using. And we had the idea of a brain dump / mind unwind / mind sweep, which also went along with the trigger list idea. So this kind of list of stuff that helps you think of things to put on that brain dump. We had the urgency / priorities matrix, or the 4 Ds of do, delay, delegate, and delete based on how urgent or how important things are. And also the done list. So this is kind of to get us focusing more on the stuff we have accomplished rather than the stuff we didn't get around to. We have the let it go / fuck it bucket list. So things that you're letting go of in moving into this kind of new part of your life or like new space of time or whatever it might be. We have the rant space or rage page. I really like the name rage page. I think that's cool. And that's effectively the kind of stuff that sometimes I put in my self-care journal. We have the idea of therapy notes, the idea of reviews and reflections, which can be very useful. Also the idea of an anxious day plan. So why are you anxious and what are the 3 things that you can do to move yourself forward for any days that you are anxious? Another great self-care / mental health idea is that of journaling prompts for mental wellness in particular. And we had this list here as an example. Questions to ask when you're feeling awful, just as a kind of like self-check-in, like what kind of things could be causing you discomfort or making you feel poorly, that kind of stuff. Memory journaling for focusing on positive memories, and a list of things that are working versus are not working. So constructive approaches versus destructive approaches to any kind of problem you're having. Again, here is a change in color palette, so you know we're into a new set of ideas. These ones were all about finances, or effectively things like budgets, money tracking, spending logs, all of that kind of stuff. The first idea was financial goals, so writing out what they were, metrics of success, kind of tracking for those. We had a weekly budgeting tracker, so on this one you could mark off each of the weeks of the year and whether you were on budget or underspent or overspent. You could also write down what your budgeted amount was, how much did you spend and what was the difference. This idea was an income tracker, so for your different sources of income, how much did you earn in each of those in each month of the year. Flipping over, we have the monthly bill tracker. This is a good one to see patterns and trends, especially in bills that actually change with each month. For instance, maybe in the middle of the year, the bill type 1's amount went down. So if you think about like power, like are there specific times in the year where you're using more power versus less? We could probably hypothesize about which ones would be more or less, but it's nice also just to have some actual data to back up that thinking. We have the monthly spending tracker, so months of the year, different categories, how much did we spend total. We have a year in pixels idea for your income and your outgoing money, so related to how much came in versus how much went out, which we've just done with dot markers, which is kind of cute. We then have a savings tracker, so putting savings aside for different spaces that you actually want to save for, whether that be like, you want to save for a car, you want to save for a laptop or a holiday or whatnot. So you can set your amount at the top, and then each of these little regions of space represents some portion of money towards that goal. We have a list for savings challenges. We have the pre-monthly budget idea. So before the month, what are your fixed expenses you're expecting? How much are they going to be? Yada, yada, yada. Let's total it up. This is how much our budget is in total. From that, we then had a bill calendar idea. So this is the monthly calendar, and you can use little dots to represent when bills are coming in, and then you can tick them off as you've paid them, and also have a summary at the bottom to elaborate on what those things are. Of course, as mentioned, you can just have spending trackers or spending logs. You can have a simple edition where you just write out what is the item, what is the price, when did I spend it, or you could get a little bit more detailed with things like what's the date, what's the item, what category and subcategory does it come under, and then what is the amount from that. This allows you to see a little bit more specifically how much you're spending in different areas of your spending life, I suppose. We then have a similar idea, this one's also with categories, but instead of writing them out in, I guess what you could say like a list view, you actually put them into the different categories. So grocery spend for the first week, second week, third week, random trip to the supermarket, something like that. You could actually write down what each of the individual bills are and put their amounts in. And that way when you come to total them up, you don't have to sift through all of the data to find each of the different categories. We also had the idea of a work expenses log for any reimbursements you might need from those. And we also had the spending breakdown for each month as kind of like a snapshot or summary to see how things were going in each of those different spending areas. Kind of just so you can see if you're overspending in a particular area or something like that. We have the monthly budgeting review, so comparing what you budgeted for to what actually happened to, I don't know, the amount of income that came in from different sources or something. And then a variety of different ways to look at your budget and compare it to other data points that you might already have. We have the financial priorities list, which is kind of similar to the goals, except you're just kind of thinking about in these different areas, what are the parts that you actually truly care about, I suppose. So essentials, wants, and extras. We also have a debt tracker, which I like the little graph because you can kind of see it go down over time, and it's like just gets to actually see your progress, which is kind of nice. Flipping over though, we then have an actual just reference for your budgeting categories. So maybe for your bills, these are the different type of bills you have. For your grocery categories, we've got those. It really depends on how you like to break down your budget. And then we had a couple of different budgeting ideas, so like a project, an event, a trip, Really, you could kind of use them interchangeably, but they were just some ideas. As you can see, change in color palette, thus change in video. This one was all about layouts that you could use for your birthday. So kind of ways that you could celebrate your birthday in your bullet journal with some kind of spread or layout. So we have the X things I love about me, where X is the number that you're turning. So like if you're turning, I don't know, 45 or something, then it'd be 45 things I love about me. We worded this one as an I am kind of page. So it's like, I am powerful, I am fun, that kind of stuff. We have X reasons to smile, again where the X represents the age that you're turning. So it's kind of like a gratitude log. We had the X things to do before X, so like 50 before I'm 50 or something like that. Kind of fun little goal setting page. We then also have just regular kind of goal setting or a goal check-in page. So what are your goals? What progress can you be proud of from the last year? What kind of challenges did you face? What kind of things are you going to try and do to improve? That kind of stuff. We then had the favorite things day plan. I, for my birthday this year, had a favorite things day and it was so much fun, which made sense because it was like literally all of my favorite things, but totally worthwhile. Following that, you may also want to have a birthday memories page. Again, they're all ideas and the actual structure of the layout is just an idea too, but it's a bit of fun. We have the party planning page because, you know, you're celebrating your birthday. And then we have the gift log. You know, people got you gifts and you want to make sure that you're reciprocating, saying thank you, that kind of stuff. We have the card keeper idea. So any cards that you get for your birthday, just sticking them into your journal. So you have them there and you can look back on them in years to come. This idea was the then and now page, which I'm now calling the then and again page, but it's effectively prompts in the middle and then you answer them for the birthday that you're having now and then the birthday you're having next year. It's nice to see how, you know, your responses to these things change over the course of a year. The next one, we have birthdays throughout the ages, so you can put in like a little picture of yourself at each birthday if you've got access to those pictures. It'd be kind of cute. And you could also have a space to document your Xth year. So for instance, I turned 31 this year, so this would be like documenting my 31st year. I mean, technically 32nd, I suppose, but you know, breaking it down by the different months, just recording little memories and milestones, that kind of stuff. New colors, new video. These ones were all about food, meal logging, effectively food, food related stuff. So we had the master meals ideas list, the favorite recipes and where to find them, recipes that you want to try, and then like ratings that you could give those recipes once you had tried them, and then recipes for specific times or celebrations. So for instance, like what are all my favorite Christmas recipes? What are all my favorite birthday recipes? That kind of stuff. Flipping over. I really love this washi tape though. It's really super pretty. Again, that one is from the washi tape shop. On this page we had favorite recipes by person, or like favorite foods by person. So it's like Jess's favorite dinner is sushi. Vogel's favorite dinner is salmon. Rachel's favorite dinner is pasta. And then snacks and cakes or whatever else, which would be kind of nice for like if you need to prepare food for somebody's birthday. So it's like if I'm gonna make Rachel a cake, maybe I'll make her a pandan cake. We have the quick eats recipes, or like quick eats kind of reference, I suppose. So in 10 minutes, what can I make? In 20 minutes, what can I make? In 30 minutes, what can I make? I'm a big fan of like lists that are themed by time. I find them very helpful. We have the what's in stock list using, I think you can possibly see it here, maybe the reflection. There's a piece of sellotape over this part and this part, so you could use this as a reusable list, just with like a dry erase marker to mark off like, yep, I've got that in this place, or when you don't have it, I need to chuck it on my shopping list. We have when did I last for the kitchen, so like when did I top up the spices, clean the oven, deep clean the pantry, that kind of thing. Those tasks you don't do super often, but you want to keep track of when you did do them. We have a 5 ways to use XYZ. This is mainly for things that you might have left over in your fridge after having cooked something, or possibly having cooked too much. So if I made too much chili, what kind of recipes can I make that use chili? If I have leftover rice, say, what can I make that uses leftover rice? The idea of a list of things you can buy in bulk and where you can get them for the cheapest. You could have something like a master groceries list, which is still something I would like to put in my reference journal, but not today. We have the what can I use this for idea. So for these kind of ingredients that aren't in a lot of recipes that you have, but if you've got some sitting in your fridge, what could you cook with them? So if I have coriander, I could use this to do Thai green curry, bao buns, cashew chicken, or noodles, something like that. We have a list of what does this go with. So each of these spices and herbs go with these types of meat. So like lamb, we've got basil, we've got dill, we've got mint, etc. A reference for what's in season, which I also want to put in my journal, but I have not gotten around to yet. As you can probably tell, this one is just a kind of fuzzy print off from the internet because I didn't want to draw the table out myself. Same idea with these snack ideas. I thought it was kind of cute that they were all on little plates. I didn't want to draw it out myself. We've got batch cooking ideas. We have the weekly meal plan with little sticky notes that you can kind of like pull off and put to the side here and then switch them out and stuff. The weekly meal log. So breakfast, lunch, and a snack. What did I eat? Did it have veggies, fruit, meat, too much sugar? All of those kind of things. We have the monthly meal plan, so essentially the same as the weekly, just with a calendar. And then also a space to write down anything you might want to try next month or things that you might want to eat next month. We then have the meal log, which is also monthly but done on a column-based system. So like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks for each day of the month. This is the one that I use the most often because it's the easiest to set up and honestly kind of what I think is like the easiest to use. We have the build a lunchbox reference, which was kind of cool. So it's like, you know, pick one from each or something like that. And you could do this for anything. It's like, you know, build a plate, build a stir fry, build a tray bake, etc. See, build a salad. Look, all the builds. Let's just build all the things. Again, print offs, but you can find the actual links to those print offs on the video for this too. And all of the videos that I'm talking about are linked in the description box. But we had a little cooking conversions flip out. I just couldn't fit it across because it was a little wide, so I put it on this, but I thought it was kind of cute. So I've got like temperature conversions, volume conversions, and mass conversions. And then cooking substitutes. So it's like, instead of using this, why not use that? So on and so forth. Like if you run out of cocoa, what can I use instead, I guess? And then cookware care, because that is something that Vogel is very passionate about, so I decided to put it in here as well. On to our next set of ideas. These are all Christmas related ideas. So everything in here is kind of like, you know, festive, end of year wrap up, kind of celebratory kind of stuff. So we had the idea of like an advent calendar where you could hide little things underneath these little doors. We of course had the Christmas countdown, which I put on, I don't know, they look like baubles on strings, honestly. I still don't know if baubles actually come on strings at all, but you know, that's an idea. We have the sustainable Christmas plan idea, and I just love drawing in these little, I don't know, they're like little pine kind of designs. I thought that they were cute. And like all of the stickers that we have in these setups, they're from the washi tape shop as well. Big fan, big fan. We have the Christmas budgeting and the Christmas spending log ideas because Christmas can be expensive. Christmas cleaning list. Cleaning is not my thing. And Christmas decoration plan, which is much more my thing. So kind of like mapping out where you're putting certain pieces so that you could have somebody else help you. Or if they're like, hey, where does Christmas Wallace go? Christmas Wallace goes at number 4, which is right there. I mean, admittedly, Christmas Wallace is out all year, so you don't really need to put him out. Literally, we've had Christmas Wallace sitting out for the entire year. Christmas doodle ideas idea though, and then we've got the Christmas wrapping supplies checklist, Christmas cards list. Again, all layout ideas, and thus I didn't want to take up like a full page to show them because you can see we've had quite a few ideas in this book, and if I gave every single one of them their own page or spread, I would have used quite a few more journals, I think. So Christmas gift ideas or gift lists, and then stocking stuffer ideas. And again, you can see I've categorized those. So $1 to $3 ideas, 4 to 10, and then $10 more than $10. Words. We have the gift log though. So who was gifting this? What did they gift? And then some little columns here to denote the idea of it having arrived, I guess, if they're sending it from somewhere. Did you reciprocate? And did you send kind of like a word of appreciation or a thank you note or something like that? We have a list of the Christmas favorites. I say list, but I did mine as kind of like a mind map, brainstormy kind of thing. We have the Christmas traditions list, so your personal Christmas traditions, and then you can pass this down to future generations to add their own Christmas traditions or whatnot, which would be kind of cute. Christmas traditions from around the world, so you can kind of see if there are any that you might want to incorporate into your own Christmas traditions. Recipe idea space, meal plan idea space, baking list and timeline, which honestly I feel like I needed this for this year, but I didn't make one, but that's okay. I'll do it next year. Maybe, we'll see. We had the DIY list idea, wish list idea, and letter to Santa idea. This one's kind of more like a reflection on the year, so it's like, this year I've been good by, but this year I've been naughty by, or whatever else you want to write about. You could have a page for a Christmas playlist, a list for a Christmas movie marathon. The idea for this one is that each of those little pink boxes could be ticked off as you watched those movies. We also had the idea of Creepmas celebrations for people who aren't really into Christmas but really do like Halloween. You could map out your Christmas day plan in your bullet journal. You could have a space to write out your Christmas wishes. So either for yourself, it could be gratitude, it could be well-wishings, affirmations, that kind of stuff. Christmas bingo, because as I said, I love my bingo boards. So usually you could use this for like memory keeping or just kind of like fun, silly stuff. You might want to dedicate a page or several pages or part of a page to memory keeping for the day. I know I'm saying the word Christmas a lot because the idea was that it was Christmas ideas in this video, but you could also use this for other celebrations too. We had the idea of Christmas reflections and then next year's saving plan to make sure that we're getting ahead on our Christmas savings. You can see this page does not have the same color palette, so this was a separate video. This video was on different weekly layouts, and I started with a one-page weekly here. So I've got a one-page weekly with the 8 boxes, where one of them's for a habit tracker. Flipping over, we had another 2 weeklies, so this is one, and that's a different one. Again, one-page weeklies. So a little horizontal section for each day of the week, and then a running task list. Well, this one was based on the idea of taking the page and separating it into 9 spaces. So maybe one for a habit tracker, one for the top 3 tasks in a mini calendar, and then the rest for those daily checklists. Then we had the vertical style, because the boxes are longer than they are wide. That was the first idea. We had the next idea, and then this one, which is one that I've used before because again it's got like the 6 periods and I used to be a teacher with 6 period days, so this one worked quite well for me. We then have the horizontal ideas, so horizontal idea 1, horizontal idea 2, and horizontal idea 3, which I really like the combination of the purples. I just thought that they stand out nicely. And then we're on to the Dutch door ideas. So we had a vertical Dutch door to start with, which I thought was pretty cute. Have the meal plan on the side of the weekly here. We then have the next one, which was a horizontal Dutch door. So we've got those days of the week down the bottom, along with a note section. And then we had a Dutch door that was a tip-in, rather than cutting away the page. So this one was just stuck over the top. I do wish I had have sized this one up a little bit better, because I didn't really initially account for where the washi tape was going to be, but it's all good. And after that, we're on the back page, and I wasn't going to make an ideas video with just one page, so this one's just sitting here. Flipping through all of those with great speed. I hope that you guys got some ideas from this one. As mentioned, this is my R&D bujo. It's not my everyday journal, so none of those kind of monthly logs or weekly logs or anything like that. I mean, outside of the weekly log ideas at the back of the journal. If you wanted to see the individual videos that were held within this journal, then those ones I go into a lot more detail explaining the different ideas we had. All of those are linked in the description box below, or you can find them in the playlist that we have on screen here. Click or tap on that one and I'll see you over there.